Hello, ninth graders. Today we will be discussing your first biweekly revision worksheet of semester 4 in the theme of handicrafts. Read the following selection below about the history of clockmaking industry and then answer the questions that follow. Keeping time. The early history of clock and watch trade is very obscure. Very little is known about the early clockmakers, and had it not been for the custom of marking the works of each watch with the name of its maker, our knowledge would have been still more scanty. One of the earliest timekeeping devices could be found in ancient Egypt. Early clocks were very imprecise. Imprecise means that they weren't accurate, and one had to adjust them frequently using sundials and position of the sun. Later in the Middle Ages, the mechanical clock was one of the most important inventions made in Western Europe. In large cities, very big mechanical clocks could be seen in clock towers. Then the advancement of clockmaking took a huge leap when the pendulum clock was invented. The pendulum clock had adequate precision for everyday life. Okay, so in the Middle Ages was when the mechanical clock, what we see today in huge centers of cities, like in, for example, parts of Europe, like in London, those were made in medieval times or in the Middle Ages, if you want, okay? At the turn of the 19th century means the 1800s, of course, Concord was a prosperous area, already famous throughout the young nation for its clockmaking. It was a town that attracted over 500 visitors twice a year. Many of them were customers for Concord's hats. So Concord was a city, okay? Shoes, carriages, and clocks. Among Concord's approximately 400 heads of households in this period, about 65% were in agriculture, 4% in commerce, meaning trade, and 35% in manufacturing, production. Of those in manufacturing, 7 men headed clock-making shops, and another 30 were engaged in the shops or in business that supplied the clockmaking trade. In short, the center of Concord, the milldam, was a machine for the production of clocks, meaning it was a center for this production. Second in importance was Boston's industrial Roxbury Neck. Boston is a city in the United States, where the influential Willard family had been producing clocks since 1785. Paragraph 4. The well-crafted clocks of these 7 shops, featuring reverse-painted glass, were generally perceived as products of a traditional clockmaker. Yet they were actually products of a network of shops employing journeymen labor that extended from Concord to Boston and overseas to the highly developed tool trade of England. In addition to crafting in the fashionable Willard features, such as the Pierce decoration, Concord clockmakers attempted to differentiate their products from those of the Willards. So those were the two parties in competition, through the use of distinctive ornamental inlays. Ornaments are decorations. They would inlay their clock with certain decorations. This added to the perception of custom work not usually seen in the Willards' standardized products. The Willards also made less expensive wall clocks, so they were accessible to others. Later, Concord clockmakers wanted to win the Willards. They used distinctive diamond-shaped design and invented movement of some Concord wall clocks, which helped in beating the Willards. So an inlay here, I gave you the definition, is a material set into the surface of something for decoration. Okay. Now this brings us to our comprehension questions, part A. I'll take them one question at a time. According to paragraph 2, what was the difference between early clocks and pendulum clocks? I displayed paragraph 2 for you. What's the difference between early clocks and pendulum clocks? Okay. Early clocks were imprecise, meaning they were not accurate, as we said before. Later on in the Middle Ages, the mechanical clocks were invented. Okay, then the advancement made a huge leap to the pendulum clock, which was known for its precision, its accuracy. So the answer, the pendulum clocks were more precise or accurate, if you want, than early clocks. Moving on, based on paragraph 5 displayed here for you, how could the Concord clockmakers make their products different and later win the Willards? How did they win them? We talked about that. Okay. Later Concord clockmakers wanted to win the Willards, so they used distinctive diamond-shaped design and invented movement of some Concord wall clocks, which helped in beating the Willards. Okay. Used ornamental inlay. They used a design of diamond shape and reversed movement for wall clocks to win the Willards. Moving on, in paragraph 3, what does the writer mean by Milldam was a machine for the production of clocks? Okay, Milldam, okay, it's a place, so it's not a machine. When I speak of something as if it were something else, obviously that is a metaphor, okay? So, let's see where they talked about that. Okay, throughout the nation, okay. Manufacturing, okay, so it means that Milldam was a place very famous for clock production. It's not really a machine, so this is a metaphor. Moving on, based on the selection, what does each of the following underlined pronouns refer to? I gave you the pronouns here. Those, and I displayed the paragraphs. So let's see. Among, read before and read after in order to figure it out. Let's start reading here. Among Concord's approximately 400 heads of households in this period, about 60% were in agriculture, 4% in commerce, meaning trade and business, and 35% in manufacturing. Of those in manufacturing, so people in manufacturing. Paragraph 5. In addition to crafting in the fashionable Willard features such as the pierced decoration, Concord clockmakers attempted to differentiate their products from those of the Willards. So, Willard products. Therefore, please write in a complete sentence. Those in paragraph 3 refers to heads of household. Okay, refers 1F. 1R, this is why we need to write it. Those in paragraph 5 refers to products, okay? Moving on, the following statements are false. They're all false because they misinterpret what is stated or implied in the text. Rewrite each correctly. Boston ranked the second after Milldam in the production of clocks. That's not true. Wall clocks made by Concord clockmakers were less expensive than the Willards clocks. Here go the answers. Milldam ranked the second after Boston in the production of clocks. Wall clocks made by Concord clockmakers were more expensive than the Willards clocks. Moving on, extracts. I told you how this is done. The trick is to put the main idea of each paragraph next to it, so when you come to such a question, you can find where it belongs easily. Extract A. A pendulum clock uses a swinging weight as its timekeeping element. The advantage of a pendulum for timekeeping is that it is a harmonic oscillator, swinging, It swings back and forth in a precise time interval dependent on its length. This is where we're talking about pendulum clocks. Extract B. The origin of clockmaking is studied through the devices that were invented and used for keeping time. The first clocks to which clear references exist were large weight-driven machines. Okay, here we were talking about the origin of clocks. Where, in which paragraph? So extract A is the complete part that is the correct part that completes paragraph 2. This is how it needs to be written. Complete sentence. Extract B is the correct part that completes paragraph 1, talking about the origins of clocks at the very beginning. And of course, you need to end with a full stop. Moving on to the vocab part, use contextual clues to figure out the meanings of each word and fill in the blanks. Scanty, go back to the text and see what that could mean in paragraph 1. Adequate, enough. Prosperous, from context, meaning rich, okay. Influential, okay. Distinctive, okay. Influential has a certain effect, has a certain influence. Distinctive, special. Unique, okay. Scanty, not very clear. Let's begin with number 1. The judge could not make any decision because he had evidence and it was difficult for him to infer anything. Evidence, difficult for him to infer. Those are the context clues. So obviously he had scanty evidence. The economic growth in the country made the towns of the north more and improved people's living conditions. Prosperous, rich. According to scientists, the most feature of the dinosaurs was their unusual huge size, the most distinctive, special, unique, that pertains only to them. He is one of the most people in politics. His decisions shape the government's economic strategies. He has influence, he has an effect, so he is influential, scanty, prosperous, distinctive, and influential. Now we go to the grammar part. Rewrite the following sentences starting each with the words given without changing the meanings. Now, farmers sell their organic products in Michigan and Orlando. So, obviously this is a active passive type of sentence. Let's start by underlining the subject. Farmers. We know this one is the active one because our focus is on farmers and we don't have verb be plus past participle, we have one main verb. Okay, farmers are our subject. Sell. Sell what? Organic products in Michigan and Orlando. This is our direct object. So we started here with the direct object. Organic products. Okay. Sell is in the present simple, so I need to add a verb be in the present simple. With products, the present simple of verb be is are. Organic products are sold. Past participle of sell is sold. Sell, sold, sold. Are sold by farmers. Okay? Peter asked Jane, did Charles clean the garbage yesterday? Of course, this is quoted speech, and the next one needs to be reported. Peter asked Jane. Okay, obviously this is a yes-no question. How do we report yes-no questions? With if or whether. Peter asked Jane whether or if. Okay, Charles did clean is past simple. We move one step back, it becomes past perfect. Peter asked Jane whether Charles had cleaned the garage, not yesterday, the day before or the previous day. Next one. This is a conditional sentence. Okay, this is the real situation. Okay. The patient came late, so he could not see the doctor. This is our real situation here. Now our supposition or our condition, our conditional, if the patient, okay, in the conditionals, as you will learn next week, there are 3 steps to change from a real situation to a supposition or conditional. Okay, identify the cause and begin with the cause. Okay, if the patient, okay, came late becomes hadn't come late. Also move 1 step back in the timeline. If the patient hadn't come late, this is our supposition. We remove the so. He could have seen the doctor. Identify the cause, move 1 step back in the timeline. Positive becomes negative and negative becomes positive. So the patient came late. If the patient hadn't come late, negative, comma, he could have seen the doctor. Okay, this is the 3rd conditional. Don't worry, we'll go into detail with those. Finally, the new company has organized a wonderful festival for our event. Obviously, subject, verb, direct object. We started with a wonderful festival has organized is in the present perfect, so I need to add has been in the present perfect. Has been organized stays the same because it's the past participle of a regular verb remains the same. Has been organized by the new company. Okay, 1. Organic products are sold in Michigan and Orlando by farmers. Peter asked James if or whether Charles had cleaned the garage the day before. If the patient had not come late, he could have seen the doctor. Remember that comma if you start with the cause or if you start with the if clause. Finally, a wonderful festival has been organized for our event by the new company. Our last part, grammar, correct the 1 grammatical error and identify it and correct it, of course. By the end of next month, remember this is the future and we see by, it means perfect tense. By the end of next month, we have covered? No, we would have covered future perfect, 3 chapters in the math book. Okay? The audience were excited when the players scored in the football match. The audience, collective noun, taken as singular, okay, was. I have neither bought the ticket or traveled. Either or, but neither nor traveled to Spain. 2 weeks are not enough. 2 weeks, guys, this is speaking of 1 time period. I'm taking it as 1 entity. 2 weeks is not enough. Okay? Have covered, will have covered. Future perfect, where, was, or, nor, or, is. And this is it for our first worksheet. See you next time. Bye-bye.